Well, hello everyone. How you all doing? Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And this won't be too long today, but I have a cool story I want to share with you. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. But before I do that, I want to give credit again to Beatle Brad. He was wearing this shirt in one of his recent videos. And again, like I mentioned with yesterday's video, I said to Brad, where'd you get that shirt? And again, Hot Topic. Folks, get over to Hot Topic. They got a couple of cool Beatles designs you can snag for not too much money, and they're really kind of cool little bright white shirts. So check it out, Hot Topic, and thank you, Brad, for the inspiration. Oh, and also for those of you that are saying, when are you going to get your George standee? And no, I don't have it yet. I'm working on getting one. I want one that's a little different from all the others. But in the meantime, folks, how's this? Here's some George. He's right here by my side on a little table. I got my George plaster, or whatever this thing was made out of. They sold these things in the old cigar shops a few years ago in malls and stuff, and I grabbed all 4 Beatles, so here's George. There you go. He's with me. Okay, how many people listen to the Beatles Channel on Sirius XM? The band's one and only official channel. Here's a little promo advertisement I got out of a magazine. The Beatles Channel, Channel 18, Sirius XM. Nice little advertisement. Well, folks, I had it in my personal vehicle, and then about a year and a half ago I dropped it. I was just kind of getting tired of having Sirius XM. I wasn't listening enough, and frankly the Beatles Channel was getting a little stale at that time. But it's still in my wife's vehicle, and some of the vehicles I use for work, they have Sirius XM in them. So occasionally I will pop into the Beatles Channel and give it a listen. Well, weird story, but let me back up a bit. Back in March of 2019, I went to the fest for Beatles fans with my son. We had a great time, and if you go back to those videos a year and a half ago, you'll see that I met up with Joe, me Mr. Mayo. I met up with Beatle Brad. I met up with Alan C. Records. I met up with Marv, also known as Beatle Vinyl 85, and there were so many other cool people I got to meet and hang out with down there. Viewers, subscribers, special guests and whatnot. It was great. And many of us filmed videos. If you go back a year and a half in all our list of videos, you'll find those old Fest for Beatle fans meetup videos, and they're a lot of fun. Well, as part of being down the fest, there's a lot going on, a lot of fun stuff happening. And one of the things I noticed when I was there in the afternoon that Saturday I was down there was a man walking around with an elaborate recording system on his shoulder with a microphone, and he had a digital recording type device. And he was basically walking around to different fans at the fest and asking them for some tidbits or stories or remembrances about the Beatles in their life and what the Beatles meant to them, and maybe share a couple of fun stories and whatnot. So, he was just randomly walking around. He'd stop somebody he thought, maybe might have something interesting to say, and he would ask them some questions, spend 4 or 5 minutes with them, and he'd move on. And he really wasn't asking people their names. He wasn't saying like, what's your name and where are you from? He wasn't doing that. Basically getting the information on audio and then thank you and moving on to the next person. Well, I happen to be one of those people. He basically saw me standing. I was waiting for something. He came up to me and said, hey, would you like to share a couple of stories about the Beatles in your life and what they meant to you? I forget what he exactly asked me, but I said, sure, okay. And so I told him a couple of different stories about the Beatles and what they meant to me, and how important they were in my life growing up, and how I passed it on to my children. And my children have now passed on. One of my sons, who has 2 of my grandchildren, is passing it on to his children. My parents started me on it. And basically one of the stories I told him was about when I was a little boy in '64, how my mom and dad bought me Meet the Beatles on a Hard Day's Night, and they used to put it on the old little hi-fi piece of furniture looking record player, and I would get on my toy Pinto pony horse, spring horse, and I've told this story many a times here, folks. I got on the old spring horse, and I'd be bouncing back and forth and forward and back and up and down, and they'd be playing Hard Day's Night and Meet the Beatles, and I was just going nuts. I just loved it. Wore out those records, told the stories here many a times, even the video with my dad talking about the Beatles. He's told the story every time We talk about it. It's a lot of fun. So I told that story about, oh, my mom and dad bought me these albums and what, they started me off. And that was it. He said thank you, left, after I told him a couple of stories, and that was it. I never thought anything of it again. Well, weird upon weird, yesterday I'm listening to the Beatles Channel on Sirius XM, and they were doing like a little montage between songs, and they had like fans were coming on and talking about the Beatles, like, oh, yeah, the Beatles, like some woman came on and started talking about the Beatles and a story about how important they were to her. Then all of a sudden, here I am at work, driving around on a Monday, and all of a sudden I hear my voice come on Sirius XM, the Beatles Channel, and I'm telling the story about my parents buying the albums and playing on my horse and all that stuff. It totally freaked me out, folks. It just like knocked me out of the water. I was like, what? I said, that was almost over a year and a half ago. And what are the odds that I would happen to have the Beatles Channel on right when that little piece came on with me talking at the fest? I don't know. It just struck me as weird. It struck me as odd, but kind of cool that I finally made it on the Beatles Channel, albeit I wasn't trying, and I thought it was kind of neat. So anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of that. I mean, what are the odds that that would happen? And Beatles Channel, you never know. You never know what's going to happen when you're at the fest. You never know. It could be a year and a half later. And then the other thing I thought to myself was, how many times have they played that and I just missed it and didn't hear it? So I don't know. Any of you listen to the Beatles Channel out there? And if you do, have you ever heard some guy blabbering about bouncing on the toy horse to meet the Beatles and his parents got it for him? If you've ever heard that before on there, let me know, because that was me, folks. Anyway, thanks again, folks. I appreciate you being here. Bless you all. I hope you enjoyed this little story, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.